Hey guys, thank you again for joining me for another episode of The Next Chapter with Tiffany. This is part two of another two-part series with Dr. Becky Woolery. This one was a little more difficult to dive into because it's super personal. It's about grieving the loss of somebody that's still with us. And for me, it's my parents. And, Dr. Becky herself has dealt with this type of thing. We are all going to deal with it. We have already dealt with it, or we are currently dealing with it. So it's one of those things that touches all of us. And this last episode was a little bit shorter, but it is full of a lot of really vulnerable conversation. I have no problem going deep on things, as you guys have probably guessed by now. It's just my personality. But in the end, what my goal is if I can sit here in this situation that I'm in, gone through all the crap that I've been through, and talk about it in such a way that actually helps somebody else, that to me, that's my payoff. So that payoff means everything to me. And I'll just give you an example. I was at the grocery store this evening, and a gal that I've known for many, many years actually complimented me on the podcast, and that just means everything to me. And I'm hoping that this just continues to grow. So do me a favor, please. Run on over to my YouTube channel, The Next Chapter with Tiffany, and subscribe. That makes all the difference for so many reasons for me. By the end of March, I want to get over 100 subscribers. I know that sounds like peanuts right now, but to me, it's huge. And once that momentum starts, I'm just going to keep rolling with it. And it means everything to me when you guys give me feedback. So thank you so much. And I've got some exciting things that I can't quite tell you yet, but it's on the whole collaboration between Dr. Becky and I. And as you can tell by the smile on my face, there's some cool things coming. So enjoy this episode. And I can't thank you guys enough for all of your feedback and your support. And I grieve for them. I do. I genuinely grieve for the family they wish they had, and they could have had, and they should have had. And it's that really upsets me, honestly.
That's so incredibly powerful. I think just to say those things out loud, right? Because people don't often say it out loud. Those are the things that we keep in. Those are the things that create that emotional distress, frankly. By being able to say it out loud, it doesn't change it. It's a reality. Sometimes it almost solidifies that reality even more, which can be good and bad, because sometimes it can be helpful if we are able to move into accepting something that we cannot change, right? Acceptance is always so important in these situations because we can't change. We can't change other people. We can't make other people do things. We can't change the history of what's happened. We can't change the inevitable of what is going to happen. And but being able to process it, talk about it, understand it, frankly, sometimes just own it can help us recognize that there is a lot of unfairness and injustices in life and in families. And this is one of those, what you named is a huge example of that, of unfairness and injustice. And there's not going to be fairness and justice that's going to happen. It's just the fact of the matter. And I oftentimes tell people that it doesn't ever happen here in this lifetime. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that some point it will. And I know that what we instead can do is just work on acceptance of things that we cannot control, of things that are beyond our ability to change. And that is not an easy thing to do, frankly, is working on acceptance. But I feel like just what you've done, Tiffany, and talking about it and recognizing it, that is a step to it. And I think that can be really powerful. And I just want to point out something too, is like your view compared to your parents, right? We are grieving what they don't have, but We don't know really what they are grieving and how they see it. I've worked with many people who, I'm just going to say it this way, are very happy in the denial world. And right? I mean, they just really are. They're just very happy in the denial world. And I struggled with that for a long time. And then I started realizing that that is what works for them and that gives them greater peace. They have greater
Right.
happiness. I've worked with many people that have had, for example, large families that had all kinds of different dynamics and problems. And frankly, I would see the parents and like the parents are just like happy and bubbly and always things are great and family's great. And I'm like, and I know better. And I'm like, I know better.
Yeah, you're like, what?
Yeah, right. And I would just sit back and I'm like, how is that possible? So they actually
Well,
taught
and
me.
it's no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say
Yeah, yeah.
self-preservation, it's all about
Yes.
self-preservation. And in my mother's case, it's image preservation because it's
Oh,
always been about that. Denial, avoidant,
sure.
self-preservation, image preservation. So again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No, I love that you said that because that is very true. Because a lot of times it is about image in our life, and especially growing up in the era that your parents grew up in. It was very much about image and self identity, um, and we want people to think highly of us, right? I
mm,
think that's a natural tendency, but some people work harder. But that tendency can result in those, denying and just or sometimes just simply accepting. There are some people that have an easier time with accepting difficult things and hard things in their life, and frankly, you mentioned it before. They go through it themselves, and I've seen that so many times when people who struggled with their parents, for example. I'm like, well, what did your parents have to go through when they were young? And I swear 9 out of 10 times the answer is it was a lot worse for them. They went through a lot more
mm-hmm.
difficult things. So I'm like, well, they're doing pretty dang good. They're doing better than their parents and their family. And I think that's
Yeah,
important to recognize. They found a better way to handle it or to cope with it or to manage it, right? Because
right.
if as you said, if they allowed that to just invade them all the time, do you know how miserable that they would be?
Oh
Those
yeah.
negative emotions, when I say invade, that's what I'm talking about. All the negative emotions
Yeah.
about those things that have happened in life, right? That would make them miserable. So
Yeah.
I really have a greater respect for people who are able to move through things, are able to not dwell on things, are able to let go of things, who are able. And I think sometimes that's people looking at the bigger picture, like what can I focus on that is better? And
Right.
basically removing themselves from the negative situations, even if it's physically or mentally being able to do that. It's not easy to do, but
Right.
I think there's a difference between like looking at the macro picture and the micro picture, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that is more looking at the macro picture of there's some good things in life, and I'm going to focus on the bigger picture and the good things in life and what I have. Like, think about it now. They've got you and their daughter who's taking care of them. Not all parents have that. So that's a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful thing to focus on for them. That can provide just a sense of joy and peace and accomplishment. And Tiffany, I want to say this, and heritage, right? You talked about
Mm.
that, the fact that people want to leave something behind, and that I'm sorry, what was the word that you used? Anyway,
I'm not sure. I said so much. I don't know which time.
I don't remember the word.
Legacy, like a
Legacy.
legacy,
There you
or
go. I use
yeah,
the word
yeah,
heritage, but that wasn't this.
yeah.
I always like to
Same.
use your words, right? My
Oh, okay.
clients'
Thank
words,
you.
if they were my client. So legacy. Yeah, they want to leave a legacy behind, and frankly, that is a legacy to be able to say that I have these wonderful children that are kind and loving, to want to take care of me, be able to keep me in my home. I mean, that's powerful. A lot
Right.
of people don't have that.
Right.
So that's a huge blessing,
Yeah.
and I think it's really, really important to focus on those wonderful things, and sometimes even remind them of it. Um, I love the little micro moments that are just positive, and to be able to
Oh
sit in
yeah.
those things and to create those
Oh
right
yeah.
now when we're feeling overloaded and overstressed, and whatever those are, because right now we're also creating memories, Tiffany, that we might not always have. I've spent, for example, more time talking to my sister than I have for a long time, and I have a good relationship with my sister. But the other day we just both happened to be at mom's at the same time, and so we sat there and we talked about a few things, and it's just fun connecting. And every time I
Yeah.
go to my mom's, I get out a drawer or a box, and guess what we do? We go through it and we sort through it, and
Oh, that's
and
cool.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's
what
good.
I've learned is she's not very good about talking about memories. She always says she doesn't remember things. And so when I try to ask her questions to get memories, because I wanted to record her and things like that, but
Yeah.
she's not very good with that. But when I pull out things that is attached to a memory
Mm,
comes out. And so that has just been an
that's
amazing,
really cool.
joyful experience. It's a little hard. I look at my mom. She lost all of her hair because of chemo, right? And,
No.
she's lost 60 pounds. And that physical presence is, it's difficult knowing that she's going through this. But we've had a
Yeah.
lot of joyous moments, and just sharing like her history and her life as she's telling me these stories. And
Yeah.
and it might be as simple as like we were going through her jewelry the other day, and I got this from my uncle, I got this from my brother, I got this from my dad. And when he
Oh,
would ever take trips, he would always bring me something back as a little girl, right? And so we've never shared any of these things. It's kind of wild when you think about your whole life and
yeah.
how old I am right now. But right, I'm like, how come we've never taken, because we just move on with life and we don't take the
Oh,
time to
sure.
sometimes reflect back on the good things. And of course with those memories come some interesting things that aren't always good. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
'cause she'll tell me, don't share this, don't say this to anybody.
Oh, that's so funny.
and,
Well, at
and you
least
get
your mother is willing to talk about things that, g- that's
right.
neat because my mom does not talk about,
Yeah,
yeah,
you,
doesn't
you
talk
know
about hard things.
I do get that. My mom hasn't most of her life either.
Yeah.
And even when she does share with me, it's a one sentence or two.
Yeah. And then don't repeat this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so
Um,
neat, though. I love that you guys are doing
yeah.
that.
And I love that we are doing what we're doing right now, frankly, is that we can sit back and we can laugh at things. We can even laugh at the bad memories, right? We can laugh at the difficult
Oh, well,
things.
it's
Whew.
either that or you go cuckoo, because the stuff that you end up having to do
Mm,
is, I don't even know. It's not abnormal, but I would say not normal for a daughter parent thing. But it is now. It's just what we do. There's just things that you just take it and you run with
mm,
it and you handle it and you don't make a spectacle. You don't it's not pretty, it's not glamorous, it's humiliating for them, it's
mm,
not fun for them. And so you just swallow it and you go, this is what I'm going to do. And I just take care of it, clean this up, do this, fix that, whatever it is. And it's
mhm.
just what we do. And you had mentioned earlier about some people don't have
Yeah.
that. They don't
No.
have that caretaker or the child that comes in and helps
Right.
try to just turbo through the house and get stuff cleaned and take care of this and check on that and then sit for a little while and like just my little nuggets like yesterday. But yesterday I thought, it's probably time for a Subway. I make it a point to get them the food they love on a
Mm,
rotating basis. Like
mm.
tomorrow is the fish and chips truck is going to be in Weezer. So get them fish and chips. And over in Ontario at Long's Bar is the closest place you'll find to getting the finger steaks from Mian's. So
Oh,
go grab.
nice.
I did those on Valentine's Day. What do you guys want? Oh,
Nice.
I want finger steaks. So I get all these things because I get them, and I cut their hair. So I'm going to cut their hair in the morning. I promise I'll come in and I'll cut your hair and I'll do my sweep. Make sure you're good. I'll go get the fish and chips. Come back, and then I'm heading to Boise for a dinner with my family, my kids, their dad, John, the whole thing. And so the balance,
Mm,
do what you got to do, check and make sure everything's good. Then there's like, okay, boom, it's time for me. And so I'm very appreciative, and I never want to play like poor me,
mm,
or I did not have to move here. I didn't have to get a job that would help me get through being here. I didn't have to do any of that. And by the grace of God, I'm able to, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for it, 100% grateful. And I don't take any of those moments for granted. So, yeah, it's a balancing act, as you know.
It's a difficult balancing act, and we just have to be very aware and careful with it. But, you talked about two things very classic. One is role reversal, right? That happens.
Hmm.
And that is exactly what is, our parents were our caregivers when we were young. And then we, if we choose to, and sometimes it's not always about choice. Sometimes it's about having the ability to, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody does. So I completely have seen many people that frankly couldn't physically take care of their parents. And I have
Yeah.
100% respect for those individuals. They
Sure.
do their best. They can still be there in different ways, right? People can be there in different ways. Sometimes they can help them with things that are emotionally, even if they can't physically, or help them with things financially, right? There's a lot of different ways that people
Right.
can help. And I think that's important to recognize and to value all of the different ways that people help, because we're not always able to. But I love that you recognize that the role reversal is different, but you're grateful for it. And that's important. And
Yeah.
I think there's something else that is really important too, is that there is a lot of um, when we are caregivers and take care of people or serve people in any way and help people, it brings to us a lot of positive feelings too. The fact that I'm needed, I'm wanted. The value of that. I
Yes.
have to tell you, Tiffany, it really hit when my father passed away, because I had been helping take care of him. He lived in my town, and then my sister started coming down from Boise at the end and helping also. But when he left, I had this huge like aha moment. Is like, even though I expected it, even though he struggled with multiple sclerosis for years, I was like, why was this so hard? Because in my belief, he was in a much better place and he was free of that body that restricted him and frankly his brain, because multiple sclerosis attacks the brain. And then with self-reflection, I finally realized that like I knew that my father needed me. I was important. I was valued. I was loved and I was needed. And the
Mm.
value of being needed really helps with our own self-worth, our own self-image, our own self-esteem. I mean, it can be exhausting because there's sometimes we're like, I don't want to be needed anymore. I
Yeah.
don't want to be responsible. But yet we do recognize there's great value in that. And so I
Yeah.
suddenly realized that that was something that was really of value to me, is just being needed and
Oh,
wanted and
yeah.
loved. And so that was wonderful. And so I think this is a great opportunity where we can recognize that, we don't have to live with regret when we're doing those things that are important to them and to us.
This is a subject that is it's just an ongoing thing. It really is. It's an ever developing, ever ongoing, because there's no textbook on this is how you deal with it and this is the outcome that you're going to have. It's like, yeah,
Right.
no. We're all different. We all handle things differently. Your parents are different. Their dynamics are different with you. It's like there's so many moving
Families.
parts. Yes,
That's what's good
yes.
too about us, I think, sharing both of our stories, because they are different and it
Oh,
helps.
yeah.
Everybody can see that every situation is different. So we're not going to all handle it the same way, think the same way, be in the
Oh,
same
yeah.
place as somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important just to step back and say, what are you needing right now? Or how can I help you the most? Right.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's, like you said, that's sometimes tough because I don't always know, what do I need right now? What would be the most helpful thing to me? Because I
Right.
frankly like to think, oh, I don't need anything. I can handle it. I'm good.
I'm solid. I'm solid as an oak. Yeah,
That's right.
that's me. Because I put that out. That's the energy that I know
Yeah,
that I put out, and I know it's not intentional. It's just that's just my personality, and I'm not a
absolutely.
needy. Yeah, I'm not a needy
Right.
person, and I've never been. Far back as I can remember, I've always been content with being alone. But I could also be the life of the party. I love all aspects of life in general, but I don't need somebody to come rescue me. But what I need is to deal with what's at hand in my own suffering and the grief that I'm dealing with. That is something I really need to pay attention to and get better at. And
Mm.
so when all of it just sort of vomits out in a massive wave of emotion, that's when I know I went too far.
Mm,
I wasn't keeping up. And I think it's better if we keep up with that kind of just like as a consistent
sure.
daily thing instead of going like hell, to beat 90 and sit there and go, oh no, I'm good. I was good. And then better back here, do this, go to work, come back here, do this, go to work, come back, da, 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 and then go, oh my God, I'm so depleted. And that's the word I'm using is depleted.
Oh,
And
mhm,
the expectations on me from them, expectations on myself, expectations in a relationship, expectations at my job, all of this is on my shoulders, feeling unappreciated at my job, feeling
mhm,
unappreciated in my relationship. Not that mom and they tell me thank you all the time. It's not that at all, but it's the outer lying
mm,
other players involved that are
sure.
not doing their part and yet take for granted that
Right.
the sisters
Avoidance.
have it. The two
Hmm.
sisters got this. You got to just let it down sometimes and go, I can't fix that. You can't fix stupid. You can't, yeah.
No, you really can't. I mean, and it
It's
almost always is just a couple people who pick up the pieces. And I'm just going to say this is why everybody needs to have girls in their life because men typically, if you look at historically and even now, there are some amazing men that I have seen that really do step up. But typically, it is the women in the life that will step up and do that,
yeah,
not so much the
yeah,
men. Yeah.
right, right. And then we wonder why. I mean, we're so wired differently anyway
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, well, we have that caregiver empathy thing. And that's, what we do and more logic and reasoning, in my opinion. So then there's
Yeah.
all these factors that play into it. Well, this is what I have to do. Well, wouldn't it be easy just to bury your head in the sand and then go, well, I don't have time. Well, I'm busy because that's what's funny is if you ask my parents, which I didn't, but somebody else did, well, how come so and so hasn't been here for a while? Oh, they're
Um,
just busy. They're busy. They're
mm,
so busy. Okay,
that
I
is the
can't use
most,
that excuse.
I know,
Oh, I'm
right?
busy.
I know when
Okay.
I'm with you on that. When I see people saying, "Oh, they're just busy," I'm like, I don't know anybody busier than I am.
Right. Thank you. I'm like, I'll go up against that turd any day and I'll show you what busy is.
Yeah.
Uh, I got more ambition in this finger than that person, yet they can't seem to come down here. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I don't, and that's all part of our next episode with talking
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
dynamic, which has been interesting. But
So,
anyway, it's all
Tiffany,
good.
just on a personal note, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
how are your mom and dad doing, like with their progression right now and where they're at?
Well, my dad, uh, it's short term.
Oh, really? Sorry, I was
Yeah,
just adjusting
that's okay.
something. I'm right
That's
here.
okay. Short term is definitely going big time.
Okay.
Big time. Yeah. Yep. And it's brutal. It
And
is
that's
brutal.
what's expected with dementia for sure.
Yeah. And it runs so deep in my dad's side of the family. Right now he's got a cousin that's going through the same thing and she's been diagnosed. She's a
Okay.
few years older than dad and it's like boom, that's it. And her dad died of it. My dad's mom died of it. I had several great aunts that died of Alzheimer's. It sucks. But you know what? Again, I that's the one thing that people don't tell you when you're in this process of this person you love declining all of a sudden instead of dealing with somebody that's cognitively aware that you go
Yeah.
when you're I just told you that I just said that are you not listening what
That's
I just said
that's
that
yeah,
there's no saying that
that's a
there's no
whole
saying
nother
that
challenge. And frankly, I think it would be good to, well, just address that. I've seen people that don't know how to talk to people with dementia, families that will choose to take care of their family, but they'll argue with them about everything. And that is
oh
not helpful
you,
at all because
no well they don't
that's the
remember
person's reality. And arguing
yes
about it is not going to help anything. And it's
Nope,
just really
nope,
unfortunate. It's like, don't correct them all the time. It's not necessary to correct them all the time
no.
or argue
Well,
with
I
them
can
about
assure
stuff.
you, and this is where the dynamics, personality conflicts. If you watch Tiffany with my dad and Tiffany with my mom, it's pretty different. And
Oh,
not I'm not mean, but I really have to work overtime because um I struggle with that. And I have a lot and again that's another episode. Uh my dad, I have a lot of grace for him and
mm,
understanding, and I get it. He's got so much love and so much just give in him. He's just 100% wide open emotionally that way.
mm,
And he's just so easy to love, you know. But my mom, when she asks me questions, and this is historically speaking,
mm,
and when you have historically a very kind of combative relationship anyway, where that skepticism and constant questioning and doubting of me has always been there, and then when you add in the decline mentally on top of that, for me it's hard to switch that channel of like, oh, she's not purposely being a shit right now, right? I mean this is not intentionally being a brat right now, right? Or
right, right.
is she, because
Or
she's
is
still
she?
right. And I struggle with that. So I have to really work overtime when
Mm,
it comes to dealing with her because of our past dynamics. And so with my dad, it's like, oh no, daddy, it's I'm very, very grace. I mean, it's all about I love this man more than anything. And I'll tell him 50 times if he wants to hear it, I'll tell him the same thing. With my mom, I oh, it's a
another
struggle.
story. Yeah.
It's the dynamics, it's the history, it's the lack of respect and trust and
Mm,
value that I've always felt that I didn't have that with her. And so meaning her to me. So
right, right.
that's an interesting thing. So I struggle with that one. I do. And she still has the ability to be manipulative big time. And there's times you're like and I sit here and I'm laughing about it because it just it's funny. It's horribly funny to sit there and listen. Well, I was going to get up and do that. Well, I was going to clean that mess up.
Mm,
Oh, I was going to vacuum that. Or I was going
mm,
and yet you see somebody sitting 16, 18 hours a day. I mean, there's no and finally I go, "Mama, come on." And I'll tease. I go, "Mom, come on. You know you weren't gonna get up and do that." I know. Well, then don't say it, and I'd laugh about it, but in my mind, I'm like, come on. You had no intention of getting up and doing that. Where there's food all over the place and stuff scattered everywhere. And it's like, come on. I was gonna do that. Okay. Yeah. All right.
yeah,
Anyway.
no doubt. That's a challenge. And,
Oh,
exactly those different dynamics between different parents can make a huge difference. Because I know for me, it was more about like felt closer to my mom than I ever did to my father. But then I have to really look and recognize there's a lot of dynamics. And I think multiple sclerosis is really what changed my dad. And it
oh,
affected his brain because multiple sclerosis can attack any part of you. So I
no,
just
it's
recognized I
crazy.
didn't give, my dad a lot of grace. And as I got older and started to see and recognize how he would have been impacted by that and how it really
Yeah.
changed him because of that. Yeah, yeah. And then you start to also see the patterns that you didn't recognize when you were younger. Like my mom
Mm.
is far from perfect, right? Those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. I've known that personally for probably most of my life. I could tell you stories you'd be like, "What?" Oh
You're
yeah.
like, how is that?
Yeah. And,
Interesting.
yeah, oh, I could go on and on. And I want to cover that in our next thing. I do
Okay.
because it's I am not alone. I am not alone.
No,
I am not
no,
alone in this. And and I think it's so important to talk about and the difference. See, like my mom would view this as me airing and not even talking about her. I didn't even have to, I wouldn't have to mention her name, but yet I'm talking about things that should never be talked about. It's the difference
oh,
in mindset and emotional maturity and taking ownership and owning your life and history and past and the ugly and the good and the bad. And I own it all and I'm fine with talking about it because in the end, I am not alone. Somebody out there will take this and go,
right.
"Wow, I thought I was the only one that ever thought that." No, I could tell you
Sure.
things I think about that would curl your toes and go, "Oh my god, you do?" "Yes, I think." "Are you kidding me?" I think about that 100%. I am human, but yet I'm open to feel. I'm open to hear my own dialogue in my head. I'm open to ask myself questions. I'm open to diving in and going, "That is not good, girl. You gotta fix that shit." I am all about it, and if that helps somebody else because I've done the work and
Right.
maybe I figured something out, oh, yeah, but I could bitch till the cows come home about my lack of a good relationship with my mother, but in the end, this is the product. This right here. Why would I ever wanna change any of that? That's what's funny. It's like, "Oh, no, I'm not sitting there going, 'Boo-hoo.'" No, no, no. It's all about, uh, turn around and help somebody behind you or somebody come to me and say, I had no idea because my mother or my father was blah blah blah
Mm,
and yeah, oh my god, yeah, let's talk about it. This is what worked for me or this is what I found out that helped or whatever. I'm all about it and I'm immersed in this 100%. So I don't mean to ramble, but I'm telling you it's important to have conversation and
yeah,
people that go through life like her that don't and it's all based in shame if you ask
yeah.
me. It's all based in shame and embarrassment and how things look or don't look and what a way to not live your life, right? And I mean that in a way of letting that rule what you do or what you don't do or how you feel and what you think and how you treat your kids and how you see your husband and how you ridicule things. It's like you are missing the boat, man. But all I know is
Well,
all that shit made me who I am.
well, and that's not a bad thing.
No, not at
But
all.
but but I do think, well, two things. One is that's, of course, that's why you're here. That's why you're sharing. That's why you're opening up. It's a journey of our own healing, but we also recognize that when we keep things, when we live in a secretive society, I'm going to say it that way,
Mm,
we there are problems and they perpetuate themselves, right? It's not until people
yes.
start talking about them that they actually start getting addressed, they come to light. And at the same time, giving your mom a lot of grace, of the era that she grew up in. That was the era that she grew up in. Yesterday it was kind of interesting. Google popped up, and the something I learned when I was going to school, but it was the anniversary of the, I don't know what anniversary exactly, but Betty Friedman, who wrote a book called The Feminine Mystique, and it was written in 1963. And it was a very powerful book because it spoke the things that you're saying right now. And it spoke to
Mm,
what women and how women were basically being groomed, at the time, and what was being used to groom women and what the expectations was on women. And it was pretty fascinating that she wrote that in 1963. And
wow.
I loved it. She's not the only one that really spoke up for women. But the whole idea is really, frankly, is that it created, um, so many problems because of the fact that, you know, basically they were women were led to believe that an ideal life looked like this, and that, and you had to be perfect in what this is, which is be basically a happy suburban mom. And that would give you all the joy and everything, and just taking care of your husband and your children. You will just be
Yeah.
happy. And of course, you've got to be able to do that well and do it perfectly. And so it just created this functional freeze, you might say,
Sure.
in women, because of how society framed what their role was supposed
Mm,
to be, and what was important. And it was really interesting that
I
she came
bet.
out with that book at that time. And you look at the people that grew up in the era. I mean, I grew up in the tail end of the 60s, 70s. Well, I was born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s, right? And so I was just seeing coming off of that, and that was still the idealistic to me. That's still what I saw. That's still, because our parents
Yeah.
were taught that, right? So then they were teaching us that. I was taught the same thing. That's why I always felt of myself as a very rebellious child, because I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to
Oh,
do, right?
yeah.
This image that they portrayed of a woman was not at all what I wanted for myself. As a matter of fact, I would be jealous of my brothers who would be going on all these adventures and outings for Boy Scouts. I'm like, why don't the girls get to do that? Why do girls get to sit home and knit and sew and raise babies and cook? I'm like, I have no interest in knitting, sewing, or cooking, and I don't want to do that. I want to go do what my brothers are doing, right? So I
Yeah.
always said I was a woman's liver from the time I was like 10 or up,
You are
because
ahead of your time.
I couldn't handle it. It really
Yeah.
bothered me. It's not what I knew. I didn't want that. I knew that wasn't me and what I wanted
Yeah.
in my life, right? And it's finding that balance, of course, as everything else is, because of course we want family, we want to take our kids. We do have a natural caregiving, I think, most women, more so. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's important to me. But also, obviously, the other, I want to do meaningful work and educate myself, and I want to grow, and I want to help other
Yes.
people. That to me is just really meaningful. So I think
Yeah.
I just know that the era that our parents grew up in was not about that at all.
No,
Um,
no, nor was it, uh, you know, just that whole, I don't know, when did it start? Like the 90s or 2000s? I don't even know when people started to learn about self-empowerment and
yeah,
okay, boundaries are healthy. They're not like, "Oh, stay out." No, I'm going to protect me. And all these things that my parents were not equipped, and I don't want to go too, obviously, we're not going to go too far into that, only because that's going to be in our next
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
And it's going to be amazing because it does dive into that aspect of how our parents were raised, but
Hmm.
also what happened before they were even born that has carried through, from above them to
Right,
us.
generational.
And
Hmm.
yes, the generational trauma and chaos and all of that. So, and because I do 100% believe that my parents are a textbook, if you want to call that, product of what happens when there's so much that starts before they're ever born, during their life, and then has made them the reason why things happened in their life the way it did with the brother I'm talking about is because they were not given the right tools to be firm, to be have boundaries, and to have self-preservation in the fact that whether you're my son or Joe Blow that's an employee, I have to protect my livelihood, my legacy, my name. And if you can't be on board with that, and you just want to be, chaos and toxicity and hate and take advantage and steal, I got no space for you in my life. I could do that, but when it comes to my family, there's no way. There's no such thing, which is funny to me because it's kind of contradictory to how my
Right,
mom views things, yet everybody knew what was happening. But again, there's that denial, bury your head in the
right,
sand.
right, right,
I'm going to
right.
avoid. So I know for a fact that through all this research and all this diving deep and all this asking the right questions of myself and allowing my inner voice to come out and talk, have an inner dialogue always with myself, that I am a complete and utter cycle breaker. This is me, and this is what I'm meant to do. And it is because I won't allow that shit that came before me that I had no control of decades before I ever came along, that has bled down to my family, into my siblings, that they never recognized, and has led to their own chaos. I am not that person. I will not be that person. I refuse to be that person. I will not pass it to my children. It stopped with me. And I
Good.
will always, always, I wish I could get a tattoo. I probably will one day. It says
Always, always.
cycle, cycle breaker, change maker, you know, uh, you know what FAFO means, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
FAFO. Oh, right. I'm just all about it. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for these conversations that you and I can have, that I hope just resonates with other people. And I always want to be respectful and, grateful for your time. It means a lot to me. I love this because this helps me in a lot of ways too. It's like online free therapy from
You're funny.
my friend who happens to be a doctor of psychology or whatever. So
Well,
anyway, I appreciate
these
it.
are wonderful. I enjoy the opportunity, and in a counseling session, I typically don't share some of the things I might be experiencing
Sure.
too, but
Yeah.
I think it can be helpful. Frankly, we do occasionally. It depends on the situation. If it feels like it might help the situation, right?
Right. Right.
But I didn't really share to help the situation. I just shared this time to be more like just a different perspective about the
Absolutely.
situation that other people might be going through.
It does. You know what? God has a plan, man, I'll
That's
tell you. And
right.
this right here, this is all part of it. And I just thank you so much for taking the time with me, always being willing to have these conversations that aren't that easy, and always willing to ask questions that invoke more thought and more ability to relate to people. And that's the whole point. So thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome.
Yes.